win. So every call, we want to start off with some positivity. So a win that you have accomplished in the past 7 days. It can be in the gym, it can be nutrition wise, it can be professional, personal, any win that you have accomplished in the past 7 days. Put it in the chat. Maybe you hit a PR, maybe you just finished the whole meal prep, maybe, I don't know, anything. You put in the chat. These usually go in so many different directions, which I kind of love it. Like this one, stayed home this weekend and it felt so good just to be home at night. I love that. Love, love, love. I have become such a homebody, so that is just me to the fullest. My win this week, I signed up for a hike that is from 5 in the morning, not the hike itself, but the trip. It's gonna be from 5 in the morning to 11 p.m. at night. It is going to be a long ass day. And it is, so it's a hike through the rainforest, I guess we could call it. And through that, we're gonna like see 7 waterfalls, which is cool. So it's like you're kind of chasing each waterfall. And a win for me is because I actually already did it last year and it's so fucking hard and I don't really like water. So it really puts me outside of my comfort zone. But yeah, I'm excited for it. I will keep you guys posted. Cooked tofu for dinner and made my family eat it. They liked it. Ooh, love that. That's how I am with my parents. I'm like, just eat this. I have to like air fry it so much for them to like it. So I'm glad that your family liked it. Anybody else that has wins, put it in the chat. And then we'll get started. Let me open up today's call. Today's call, we are talking about social summer. So I know a lot of us are in the States and celebrating the 4th of July. I know a lot of different events come up this summer, and I just want to talk about how we can stay on track through all of that. So a little bit of what to do when you are at this particular event, and just overall things that you can carry on with you when you are being social. So let me share my screen with you. Okay, cool. Cool. So again, with this journey that we are on, something that was the most difficult for me was the social aspect of being on any type of transformation journey. Especially when you are on a calorie deficit. And when you're making these calorie adjustments, when you have to show up to the gym, I 100% know that the social aspects is difficult. At home, it's easy, you make your meals, you track them, you have your scale, it's super simple, nothing gets in the way. But the reality is that's just not how we are gonna live every single day, every single week. So we have to understand how we can still continue on this journey and also make it fit into our social life and not feel like it's something that is like making us restrictive or setting us behind, right? So we're going to talk about 2 different things, a little bit of the mindset shift that comes with this and action steps, things that you can actually do with your meal prep, with your calories, with your workouts, etc. So that'll be today's agenda. We're going to start off with a little bit of mindset. Again, one of the reasons when I first hired my first fitness coach, I think it was like 20, I like 2 months in was like, I can't do this anymore. And I was so close to just calling it quits because I was so social. Every single weekend I had an event and I always felt like I was on a calorie deficit. I'm doing this and I can't do XYZ or I can't eat XYZ. And I felt like it was just pure restriction, right? And I always looked at it in a form of negative rather than what is the journey that I'm actually on. So something that has helped me throughout that is thinking of it as it's not restrictive, it's not restriction, it's science. So when we think of calorie deficit, right? Whoever is on it right now, depending on what phase you're in, a calorie deficit is calorie restrictions. But that doesn't mean that you have a restrictive diet and that you are going to have a restrictive diet for the rest of your life. It's just a science and a process that you're in right now. And of course, for like my nerdy girls, my science girls, this can kind of resonate more, understanding that I am just right now trying to keep my calories to a certain amount in order to reach X goal. So although I feel restricted, although I'm going to this event and maybe I'm holding off on some of the beers or some of the desserts or like certain things, I'm not technically restricting myself. I'm just in the science of a calorie deficit, right? So you will have to make sacrifices, especially this summer, 4th of July, whatever you are celebrating, right? You will have to choose things that maybe aren't what you really want in the moment. Right, keep in mind your current phase, especially if you are in that deficit, and do your best to be flexible as a whole so that you don't have these constant cravings. So it's a little bit of a tough balance between how can I stay on track and how can I also be flexible, right? And we kind of play with that at like an 80-20%, some of us more like a 90-10%, which we're going to talk about today too. So some practical action steps, right? First, let's talk about tracking, because it's really hard to track when you have a lot of social events, and I understand that, right? 100%, when we do start tracking, right? I do not mind one non-tracking day per week. I put it on your tracker. I tell you, if you don't track a day, if you're going out for dinner and it just doesn't go in your numbers, but you kind of planned for it, it's fine. Don't stress yourself out. You're totally fine as long as you're not like just kind of having, going overboard, right? So when it comes to tracking, pre-track your calories. So when you're going to these social events, do not pull out your MyFitnessPal, your Macros First app, and start playing macro Tetris. If somebody's handing you like, hey, do you want a cookie? And you're like pulling out your app and you're like, hold on, let me check if this is gonna fit my calories. Like, please do not do that. It is 100% not necessary. And if you do, I am not your coach. I did not tell you to do that. And do not do that. Do not pull out the app. Right, but we can pre-track in advance. So let's say, okay, I'm going out to dinner later, or I have this event later. How can I adjust my day so that I'm just leaving some calories for the end of the day? I'm leaving 700, 600, however many calories for the end of the day. Another thing is, if you're going out to eat, how can you look up the menu in advance? Same thing, same room for advance. Ask questions. This used to make me very uncomfortable because I felt like, again, my friends don't do any of the things that I do, especially when I first started. So I like even my parents as well. Like I would kind of feel weird asking where we were gonna go or what were the plans for today. But I have found it so much easier because I do like to plan out my day. I do want to know what I'm gonna be eating later so that I can kind of adjust and get my protein in, knowing where we're gonna go. So there's nothing wrong with asking those questions. Another thing is going to be being proactive with your day. We'll talk about that in a second, right? Eating lighter, prioritize protein. Again, we are going to talk about. And if you cannot track, always, you can or cannot. Some of you like to track even when you go out to eat. And again, I'm fine with it. If you track, if you don't track, right? Some flexibility I'm totally okay with, as long as it's not driving you insane, right? Always choose the best options that's going to make you feel your best, right? So even if you're not tracking, it's not just, oh, I'm not tracking. Nicole told me that when I go out to dinner, I don't have to track. These calories don't exist and you're getting the bowl of pasta with just bread, right? So we do want to make sure that we're choosing the best option. We're still choosing the protein. We're choosing that carb. We're choosing the vegetables. We're doing these simple adjustments like, no, like they're like, oh, what do you want as your side? Do you want fries or a side salad? You're like, okay, I'm gonna get a side salad because it's gonna fit my calories a little bit easier, right? Very, very, very simple. Again, 90% of your week, you're pretty on track. If you're going out to eat once or twice per week, it's really not that big of a deal. And I don't want tracking to be something that makes you feel super, super miserable, because I need you to obviously enjoy this journey so that we can continue with it. Now, how can we be proactive with our day? So you have an event, say again, 4th of July, or you're going out to dinner, or whatever social event comes up. How can we be proactive for the day? Now, this is personally my favorite. There is a lot of different personality types, and I'll talk about that in a second. So I really am like hard on keeping breakfast just kind of like a usual hearty breakfast. In the past, things that I have done is like, I'm going to 4th of July barbecue. I am going to try to eat as little as possible in the morning. I kind of start the day with restriction, but we do not want to restrict in the morning. It can be lighter. So if you usually have like two pieces of toast, you're having like one. If you usually have like a bagel sandwich and you're doing like an omelet instead because you're gonna prioritize protein and nutrients, that's fine. But we wanna keep it not restrictive. Because if you start to restrict from the morning and you're like, I have 4th of July later, I'm gonna save these calories, you don't wanna go into that event feeling super ravenous. And you haven't eaten all day, and you go into this event that you see the chips and you're like, I need this right now, because you just haven't eaten, right? We wanna think of those events just kind of like another meal that you have a lot of control over. And part of that is going to be keeping that cravings, keeping the hunger down right at the start of the day. If anybody has questions on that, let me know. Next thing is, when it comes to lunch or dinner, it can be lighter. So again, if you're doing breakfast and then you're going to an event, then maybe when you get home for dinner, it's a little bit lighter, totally fine. Or if you're going out for dinner, then lunch is a little bit lighter, totally fine. So we kind of want our day to look a little bit like this, right? If you're going out for lunch, that's going to be the top part. This is your social event. Or if you're going out for dinner, this is going to be your social event meal. Now, what you're gonna see here, obviously breakfast, just pretty much a regular schmegular breakfast, but we wanna really time out our carbs. So still those carbs are twice in the day. Now, this is where the individual kind of comes in, and I want you to really explore what is the best option for you. I have explored many different options. I find it much easier when I am going out to eat for lunch because I just have breakfast. I have more calories or carbs to play with. I have my whole day. I can just be mindful. And then at night, I kind of just eat whatever. When I go out to eat for lunch, I feel like it's so easy for me to just fit it in my day. When I go out to eat for dinner, I find it to be a little bit more difficult simply because I don't want to be hungry all day. So it's like, okay, I want to have breakfast and I also want to have lunch because I'm not going to dinner till 7 p.m. If I don't have a good lunch, then I'm gonna be starving, and then that's also gonna snowball into something that I don't want it to be, right? So when I'm going out for dinner, I'm a little bit more mindful with, I spelled dinner wrong, my bad. I'm a little bit more mindful with what I choose at dinner, just because I've already had a full day of eating, whereas lunch, I feel like I can be a little bit more flexible. Again, preference wise, and I was even talking to Christine about this. We were talking about like, she had a wedding at night. When I had a wedding, I did a regular breakfast and then I did a protein shake. I felt like a protein shake holded me down. I went to the wedding. I kind of just ate whatever at the wedding, right? Obviously being mindful. I told her that, I'm like, you can do a protein shake. I felt like that fit best for me. And she was like, I think I'm gonna have a salad instead. Great. If I would have had a salad, I feel like salads don't hold me down as much as like my protein does. So that's what works best for me. If you want a meal, great. If a protein shake holds you down, great. If you want to do like a bowl of tofu, like great. Whatever personally works best for you. And part of this journey too is going to be exploring what you like and what you don't like. It's never going to be that, yes, this or that. Explore what it is that you like best. What is coming next? Okay, now let's talk about social events, especially if you are doing something this week. All right, be the girl that brings healthy options, right? You have a barbecue, you're doing whatever. Be the girl that's bringing the fruit, the veggies, the salad, the proteins, the diet sodas, the seltzers. Everybody's family is a little bit different. Personally, like my family back in the States, there will never be veggies there. Like they're just don't. It's just rice and it's a protein and it's probably some fried something, but there's really no veggies there at all. So that's where I kind of come in and can I bring this, right? So here, my family here is a little bit different. There's not a lot of protein, so I have to bring my own protein. Bringing diet soda to these events is also a good idea. And sometimes when I'm with my friends and it's like barbecue style, I usually bring fruit because usually the appetizers or like the things that people pick on is like chips or yeah, it's usually just chips. But cut up a watermelon, bring it, and I promise you, you will be the fucking hit. Who is gonna say no to watermelon and cut fruit, right? Usually people want that healthier option. Unfortunately, it's just not the easiest for people to bring. So if you can bring the diet soda, if you could bring the seltzer, if you could bring the fruit, you're just kind of hitting your goals. And also, obviously, you can kind of share that with other people too. And second to that, be the girl that recommends a healthier option. I've noticed at the beginning with my friends, I used to be like, oh, I don't want to be the girl to like whatever. I have never really ran into me recommending a healthier option and the other person like turning it down. I usually am like, hey, like recently we went to, we had like a girls pizza thing, and there was this really, it's called, what is it called? True Food. If you know about True Food has very, very healthy food options, and their pizza options are low calorie, they're light, they feel really, really good. So I was like, hey, if we're gonna go get pizza at like this one place, what if we try this place? Like, it's really good. It like, and I talked about it. They're like, yeah, that'd be great. Right, another time recently, I went out with my friend. He's like, oh, where do you want to go? Do you want to go get tacos at this like Mexican restaurant? I know that Mexican restaurant, very greasy. I was like, what about if we get sushi instead? Yeah, great. Right, so usually it's not a big issue, but it has to be that person that's just going to recommend a healthier option. Again, usually nobody really cares about being healthier. Now, when it comes to building your plate, so this is going to be more so specific to that specific event. Let's say if you're doing something for the 4th of July. A lot of times these things is like you kind of pick at things, or maybe it's like buffet style or like barbecue style, whatever the case may be. When it comes to building your plate, we want to keep it very, very simple. Can we get the proteins and the veggies first, right? Avoiding any type of the fluff. And what I mean by fluff is if you want it, like go ahead and get it, but if you don't care for it, leave it. And this is sometimes like, I like to say like that piece of bread that like at the end of the whole thing, like there's a buffet style and there's proteins and there's pastas and all the thing, and then there's bread. And then you're like, you kind of just grab the bread because the bread is there and you're so used to grabbing the bread, but do you really care for the bread, or would you care for everything else that's there? So if it's something that you don't genuinely care for, that it's really not going to add too much, like just leave it, right? And again, this is kind of just habits that I know for sure. I just used to grab whatever was there just because it was there. If you don't really want it, just leave it, right? And something that helps me a ton is following a 1 plate rule. Now, I say minimize/avoid second plates. Sometimes you can't avoid it. Sometimes there's something that tastes so good, you just want a little bit more. That's normal, right? But something that I notice with like, for example, like Thanksgiving or these certain events, some people are like, oh, I'm just going to serve myself a little bit because I'm going up for seconds, right? And it's kind of what happens there is we don't actually visualize how much we are eating. And since we eat in such a short amount of time, it's so much easier to overeat. And when I used to do this, I used to do like 1 plate and then I'd go up for seconds. But the reality of the reason that I was doing this was because I didn't feel comfortable with seeing a lot of food on my plate because I knew it was a lot. And I kind of didn't want to see all that I was eating. But it is very important that you see what you're putting in your body. Because when you say, okay, what do I want right now? And you pick all of the things that you want, you see it on your plate, you can really like, 1, get comfortable with how much you eat, and 2, it's gonna be that portion control. You do double, instead of having like 2 small plates that would equate 1, it's gonna be like, you know, basically like 1.5 plate, definitely more than you would have had. So 1 plate rule is super, super helpful. Something as well, again, with different families, different dynamics, is some families don't really have a set like meal. So it's not like, hey, we're all gonna go and get food at once. It's kind of like, oh, this comes around or this is here, and everybody just kind of grabs whenever. I know Rhonda had mentioned this as well once. But something that she practiced as well is like, okay, all the food is here. Even though my family doesn't really like sit down and eat and grab all my stuff, I'm gonna build myself a plate. I'm gonna eat now, so I don't have to kind of just graze and eat all day. I can just have my meal and know what I'm having in one place. So yeah, this is something that really, really helps me. Now, number 2 is dessert and alcohol, because the reality is both of these, they are part of our lives and we want to be able to incorporate it. So something with this is you can't have it all. All right, and I mean, technically you can, but we can't have it all in terms of excess. So if you're having all of the apps, and you're having all of the drinks, and you're having all of the entrees, and you're having all of the dessert, it's gonna be too much, and you're probably gonna leave the event feeling super, super full. All right, so how can we start to balance that out? If you are gonna be drinking a little bit more, okay, I'm gonna hold off on some of the desserts, or I'm gonna hold off on some of the carbs that I choose, right? If I'm a dessert girl, I'm going for the dessert. I, on the opposite end, will drink a little bit less just so that I can have a little bit more of the desserts, right? So we kind of want to pull and take. The approach that I take, I love food and I love tasting food. So if there's 5 desserts there, I want to try all of them. I usually partner up with somebody. So I could take a little piece and then I kind of give them a little piece. That's just, I love trying new things. So it's okay with sampling like little things, or even when you're choosing your meal, you kind of try everything. But again, just pay attention to the portions that are on your plate. You can have a little bit of it, and sometimes a little bit is all you need to just taste the food, satisfy that craving, and just kind of keep it moving. And then we talk about alcohol hacks, right? Keeping it low calorie, not mixing it with sodas, not mixing it with juices, right? Can we mix it with diet soda? Can we mix it with some type of 0 calorie mixer? Can we stick to seltzers instead of something that is higher calorie? Little things like that, they really do make a big difference, because if you're having a 70 calorie drink, right, maybe you're having 3 of them, it's a big difference if you're having a 250 calorie drink and you're having 3 of them. Right? Usually when we're drinking alcohol, sometimes we kind of do it for like, that little buzz. They'll both kind of give you the buzz, but one just throws your calories way higher. Now, next is going to be your schedule. Over the summer, over these social events, over time that is like a little bit crazy, be okay with your schedule changing. And sometimes we want to go into a mini panic. And I have this event and I have this, and we're like, whatever, be okay with it changing, right? So let's breathe. Something came up, Saturday I can't work out, or Tuesday I can't work out because my friend wanted to do XYZ. Okay, breathe. Remember that you are a problem solver, not a pity party queen. So it's not like, oh my God, now I can't stick to my goals and now I can't my whole plan is over. No, okay, this person invited me out. Do I want to go? Yes, okay, how can I move my workout around? I was supposed to meal prep tonight, make sure that I meal prep before I go so that I'm still getting these things done, right? So how can you breathe, stop, pivot in order to solve that problem? So what needs to get done? When will I get it done? Today I was supposed to meal prep. If I got invited out, if I'm not meal prepping today, do I have my food for tomorrow? Yes, I have enough for tomorrow. I can get by, but then I 100% am going to have to meal prep tomorrow, right? Okay, great. Or if I'm not working out today, I'm going to work out on Thursday. That's usually my day off, right? So what needs to get done and when will I get it done? Also, kind of with the workout thing, is making sure that you have a safety day. My safety day is Saturday. So if I don't go Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Friday, I am going to work out on Saturday. And sometimes that's all I need to wake up. Do I want to go to the gym? But do I want to go on Saturday? And that's just enough for me. So making sure that you have a safety days in your schedule so that you can pivot very easily and still get done what you need to get done. Meal prep for the future you. There will be events. You might have to go home early because you have to meal prep. This used to happen to me all the time. It still does on Sundays. We're here, we're out, we're doing things. I have to go home early because I have to meal prep, or I have to wake up earlier because I have to meal prep because I know I'm not going to want to come home early to meal prep. Meal prepping is not because you want to do it right now. You are never going to want to meal prep. There's probably 1 out of 10 times that you're like, yeah, let's get in the kitchen and start prepping and bulking for the week. The reality is none of us probably want to meal prep most of the time, but we meal prep just to make our future selves lives much, much easier. So in your schedule, make sure that that is in. And most importantly, with this as well, is we have to set our boundaries with our scheduling. So to finish off today's call is going to be the boundaries, because fit chicks are rare and we're weird. We go to the gym 4 or 5 times a week. We meal prep. We eat 3 times a day. Plus we have this, there is people that don't do this. There's some people that don't work at all, right? I have a friend here in Colombia that she's always invited me to things, but I'm like, you don't work out. It makes sense why I can never go, right? You have more time to do certain things, right? So there's 2 types of boundaries. There's boundaries with yourself and boundaries with others. Both of them are very, very important. So with yourself, it can be hard to stay strict to your new schedule, but again, always just think about the future you. If I meal prep now, even though I don't want to, is myself tomorrow just gonna have a stress-free day? Yes, okay, that's enough for me. If I don't go to the gym now, do I want to go on Saturday? No, okay, that's enough for me to show up today. So make sure that you're creating those boundaries and you're doing the things that you have scheduled and that you said that you were going to do. And with others as well. So social summer means a lot of people that maybe aren't used to this new life change that you made, or maybe they're not comfortable with it. There are so many different ways while people can get in the way. Sometimes it's just because they aren't doing things themselves, right? There's a lot of different reasons. So with others, no is no. Hey, you want to go to XYZ, and you're like, no, I'm gonna go to the gym, right? No is no. There doesn't have to even be an explanation for that. If you don't want the piece of cake, if you don't wanna go out to eat, if you don't wanna skip the gym, no is enough of a response, right? If you start giving in, they're gonna expect you to give in all the time. So if you're missing a workout to hang out with this person, or if you're missing your meal prep to like go out to eat or to do whatever, they're gonna expect you to give in all of the time. And this is something that becomes reoccurring. So once you start setting that boundary, it starts to stick and they're gonna expect you. My friends will never say to me like, hey, Nicole, do you wanna go to this? And I'm like, no, I have to go to the gym. It ends there. It ends, it dies. At first, it didn't. It was like, oh, but you can go. Yes, but now they know that no is no, right? Your family and friends may be resistant at first because they're not used to this and they're not used to the schedule that you have. I know for sure my family, my parents was not having it with my new meal prep system and my new healthier way of eating, but they do get used to it. And also, do not let people fit shame you, because that is a thing. If you try eating healthier, right, they kind of hit you with, oh, just live a little bit, like just one bite, it's not gonna kill you, like just one day. All of these things people love to say, people make fun of me, they're like, oh, does it not fit into your macros? And I'm just like, yeah. And they kind of like look at me. Am I tracking my macros that day? No. Are you being an asshole? Yeah. But you're not gonna fit shame me because these are my goals. And with that, people have a lot more respect for those people who have boundaries. And when you become a no girl, I know some of us are still learning this, and we still are these yes women, and we still say yes, and we're like, oh, we kind of put ourselves behind. It is difficult to start transitioning into a no person, but people have more respect for those who have boundaries. So push into that resistance, get the comments. We have a full lesson on this. It's called Overcoming Peer Pressure and Fit Shaming comments. It kind of walks you a little bit through, like, if somebody says this, what are things that I can start to say? How can we start to reword? How, because like I know certain family dynamics, they don't even want you to eat healthier. They don't want you to like, there's just so many different things that can be a thing. So if you want to watch this lesson, if you need it, you can just message me and I will send it to you because it's probably far up in the lessons that we have. So it'll walk you through how you can start responding and respond from a place of abundance rather than a place of, I'm on a diet, right? You're not on a diet. We're making these life changes. These are things that make you feel really good. You're very happy with the way that you've been eating, right? You've been eating healthier. You don't like certain foods anymore, right? So it's important to understand this. And also, as I mentioned, understand that you are a rare breed. There is not people that are working out as much as you are. There is not people that are paying attention to their protein intake or making sure that they're getting enough veggies in the day or making sure that they're building a better relationship with food. Like, you are rare, and that's okay. So who you are now, or who you were, is not who you are becoming, or sorry, who you were is not who you are now, and it's definitely not who you are becoming. So embrace this new version of yourself, right? It's your goals. It's not theirs and it's not mine. So nobody in this event is responsible for your calorie deficit. If your partner wants to get dessert, but you're like, I don't really want dessert, I just want to just eat my meal prep today, right? It's not their goals. Don't make it about them. Let them do whatever they have to do. So it is your calorie deficit. It is your body. It is your confidence. It is your future health. And it is your new lifestyle. And doing these little things like ordering the side salad or getting the extra protein or doing the one plate rule, like these little things can bring those two lifestyles of you still being social while still being on your goal. So let's make sure to embrace this journey. So just a little regroup of when we're going into these events. Again, if you're gonna track, make sure that we pre-track. Don't go into this event stressed about numbers. Follow the one plate rule. Also spelled that wrong. Bring fit chick habits to social events. Have your safety days, because things will go and you have to pivot. Meal prep for the future you, set your boundaries, and keep a positive, powerful mindset. If you look at anything that we learned today, or you go to this event feeling like it's a lack of, or it's I can't, or it's a restrictive, or it's I have to work out. Thinking about all of those things from a negative mindset can really just change the whole journey to you not wanting to do it and not wanting to continue it. But if it's, I get to work out, I work out because when I'm 80 years old, I want to be functional and I want to go on hikes and I want to travel and I want to play with my kids and I want to do all of the things. That's a much more positive reason to show up to these sessions. If you eat in a way that I'm actually gonna feel really, really good once I have this nice healthy meal, right? Again, that's positive versus, ah, I can't have the bread. Nicole said I can't have the bread. Like, very, very, very different there. And be kind to yourself and just keep going. You're not gonna get it right, whether you've been in this program for 1 month, 2 months, 3 years, however long you've been. Be kind to yourself and just keep going. You're gonna learn. You go away once and you're like, ah, this went really well, but I could have done a little bit better here. Okay, great. Next time you do better. You go to an event and maybe you're like, ah, damn, I should never picked out the chips that were on the table. I really didn't even want them. It was just habit. Next time I'm gonna do better on that. Every single time that you do anything that something does go well or something doesn't go well, the next time it just gets better. So be kind to yourself in that journey, ask the questions that you have to ask, and most importantly, just keep going. So that's gonna wrap it up for today. As always, remember that food is love and strength is power. Do we have any questions for today? Ooh.
I don't have a question, but just a comment. And this is something I used to do before this program. So first off, I'm wondering your thoughts about it. I used to do, like, for events, I would do half of my plate fruits and vegetables. I would start off with that. That was a time when I was not focusing on protein. So I think I would adjust maybe like a third. But that, I don't know, it was a really nice way to just like know I'm gonna have a full plate, but start off with the good stuff. And that kind of goes into what one of your points about like focus on protein and nutrients first.
Yeah, it's a very simple way to, especially if it's already on your plate and we're kind of falling into the one plate rule. Once you get to the carbs, they don't even fit. And you're gonna be very, very full. So I think that's a very, very good idea. Just making sure that with that, I would say a little bit more on the protein, just like you mentioned, because it's gonna keep you full. Maybe the veggies aren't gonna like fill you up so much, but the protein will. So I love that. And I'll add to that as well, just for anybody else here. I feel like we're kind of past this, but some people are new to this as well. Do not try to restrict too many of the carbs. Personally with my family, like we can have 7 different kinds of rice. So if I'm getting like a little bit of each, like it is what it is. But don't try to hold off on, oh, I'm not gonna have any carbs, because then that's when the cravings start to hit. And when dessert comes, you just want so much more of it. So let's incorporate that as well. Most of the plate, veggies and protein, and do incorporate the carbs, especially the ones that you really like. Does anybody have any other questions or anything that they would like to share from either their experience or anything?
Yeah, I'm plant-based, so my protein is mostly tofu, seitan, and tempeh. But anytime I get invited to like barbecues or parties, I know that they're not gonna have anything for me. And usually people ask like if I like Impossible Burgers and all that stuff. I fucking hate it. So I was like, you know what? I'll just bring my own tofu. Give me the carbs, I'll bring my own tofu. So that helps me a lot.
Yeah, the plant-based struggle is definitely not fun. Thank you for that as well. I always have to make sure, like, the fruit thing is, I guess, the biggest thing for me, especially like when going away. Cause I don't know, I feel like sometimes I do wanna pick at certain things, or if there's not vegetables on it, maybe I won't bring the vegetables, but just having some type of fruit balances it out so that the meal's not so heavy. So I feel like everybody here can kind of find like their thing. Like you don't have to do everything, but just find your thing and what's gonna make you feel the best.
Would you recommend just like taking your own food to events, like just like what your meal prep? I know obviously what we just talked about was kind of balancing and eating what's there.
So I've definitely done that in my past. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it unless you really don't want anything that's there. Like if whatever is gonna be at the event, you're like, I don't want any of that, feel free, bring it. But I just, if you're doing it just because I wanna be super strict, I just don't think it's something that's super sustainable. Because eventually when you aren't, or you can't handle being that strict anymore, you're just gonna wanna go like all out, and you're just like, no, I'm just gonna eat whatever, I'm gonna eat the chips, and you're not really learning how to balance when you're eating out, because you're trying to just bring your own stuff. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's, but yeah, I've definitely went to, I remember when I was like, I used to order meal preps, and I went to like this barbecue, and I was like, no, I'm gonna bring my turkey burger because I ordered a burger thing, and everybody else was having burgers, and I'm here with my little Tupperware, and it's just, it's too much. It's not something that I can do for the rest of my life, or I wanna do for the rest of my life, so instead, just learning how to balance is very important. Any other questions before I let you go? I think that is it. If you have any questions, after this call, feel free to let me know. If you have anything particular, I know it's 4th of July coming in. So if you have any particular, hey, this is my situation, this is how usually things go, this is where I usually get stuck, please also let me know. Or if you feel that maybe we can hold you accountable, you wanna share your meal, you wanna post whatever it is that you got, just to kind of like, again, hold you accountable to keeping the 1 plate rule, post it on the group, let's share how we kind of balance that all, so we can kind of continue to grow together. No check-ins this week, I will remind again tomorrow, just for the holiday, and then we'll get back to regular schedule next week. So, love you guys, have a wonderful week.